Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Griffin and I'm a filmmaker based out of Orange County, California. And today we're not in Orange County, California, we're actually in Baja, Mexico. And I wanted to talk to you about the brand new Canon EOS C50. To me, this is a super exciting camera, so huge shout out to Canon for letting me try it out. No money was exchanged, they didn't let me keep it, unfortunately. But I did get it tested out and we're on a real world job. So we're out here, we're chasing some trophy trucks and we're filming the Baja 400. So if you're not super familiar, the Baja 400 is a race down in Mexico they do every year, along with some other races, and it's a pretty big deal. So I figured it's a perfect documentary type setting where we could really put this camera through the paces in a real world setting and see how I like it, see how it integrates along with a lot of the other Canon cameras that I have. So the other Canon cameras that I have down here with me are the C70, R5C, R3 that I'm being filmed on right now, and we might have a couple others that I'm not thinking of, but that's what I can think of right now. And the short answer is it integrates really well. My first overall impressions when I first saw it is like, it's just this little tiny cube. Basically, look, we all wanted an FX3 and finally Canon gave us an FX3 from Canon. But it's like totally beefed up, supercharged, higher horsepower, better version of it. So right off the top, you guys probably have already seen the specs, but some of the things that stood out to me right away were, again, like I said, the form factor. I really like that you have sort of this like run and gun, almost like C100 Mark II style top handle with the XLRs built in, full size. So you can run like an NTG3 or any other type of microphone you want. It's a full XLR mic on top. I absolutely love this because a lot of times in the settings that we're in, we want to capture that super high quality audio, and I personally don't love the mini XLRs like the C70 and C80 have. It's just like one cable to forget, or if you break a cable for some reason and you happen to be somewhere that's not, you know, right by a camera store like we are right now, it's much easier to be like, hey man, you got an XLR I could borrow for the day, and someone can usually have one, versus something more specialized like a mini XLR. It's really hard to track down. Another thing I love is it's got dual card slots, so it's got CF Express and SD. So funny story, one time I was actually filming in Israel and I ended up like forgetting my CF Express reader. This is back when I was shooting with the 1DX Mark II, and like I couldn't find a CF Express reader, but I would have loved to have an SD card slot in that point in time to be able to have something. Sorry, hopefully it's not too loud at the plant, but I'll isotope it if it is. Anyways, long story short, I love that there's dual card slots so you can choose. I do prefer CF Express a lot better. They're cheaper, they're faster, they're more reliable, but I do like the SD card slot being there kind of as a backup. And you can record your high resolution stuff to the CF Express and your lower resolution stuff to the SD. So I figure since there's been so many videos that have already come out about the C50, I kind of wanted to share my own perspective and how I used it. So to start things off, yesterday, the very first thing we did before I recorded even one clip with the camera is I teamed up with my buddy Patty. I'm gonna put his Instagram right here, but Patty's an amazing FPV pilot. He flies with us on a lot of the bigger commercial sets. And I said, hey Patty, can you bring one of your Cine Lifter drones, your FPV drones, and put the C50 on there? So that's exactly what we did. We put a Laowa, it was either a 9mm or a 10mm lens on there, a full manual lens, and he went out and just ripped it. So Patty probably would be pissed at me for saying this, but he's actually a Sony shooter. And as soon as he got done, he's like, dude, that footage is incredible. I'm thinking about switching to Canon now. And I just thought it was a testament that how good the footage is. We actually shot in the full raw open gate. And when you're shooting those shorter FPV flights, when you're flying a big Cine Lifter, you're only flying for a couple minutes at a time. So it doesn't really matter that it's this super crazy bit rate. That's actually a huge blessing. That's something that you want. You want a really high, strong bit rate. And so that's why the footage looks so incredible. But then jumping into like more of a documentary type setting, like exactly what we're doing now, all you gotta do, you slap that top handle on, you get your XLRs back, and then you could jump down to, I prefer just the XF-AVC codec, but there's the newer XF-HEVC, which I haven't really tried out too much, but it's like an H.265 version, and it's smaller files and apparently same quality. But the good news is it's got really like your everyday codec built in, as well as that real high-end strong codec for when you're shooting stuff that you know, is kind of shorter. It's not necessarily long duration. You don't care so much about file size. Some of the other things that I've really been using on this shoot is the 4K 120. So it's got C-Log 2 built in. So one of the things that I didn't love about the R5C was the only way to like get C-Log 2 is if you shoot in RAW, which is massive file sizes at 8K. And same with this, it's got the RAW at 7K, which it's pretty impractical if you're gonna be shooting all day long. at least for the way I shoot usually. I prefer to have sort of a nice kind of medium codec where it's got a good strong, you can still edit, you can still, you know, grade it a bit, but I really just want that C-Log 2 for the flat profile and the most dynamic range possible. That's one of the great things, is having that C-Log 2 built into even the smallest codec. So if you're shooting something longer form, you're shooting documentary coverage, and you're not really sure, you know, what's going to be good, what's not going to be so good, you have that C-Log 2 built in without having to shoot in the highest bit rate. So some of you might be interested in how does this pair with something like a C70 or a C80 or C400 or a C500 Mark II. The cool thing is the C-Log 2, in my opinion, it matches really well. Now, I haven't done extensive grading. Again, this is kind of a first impressions video, but from my grading I did last night on the footage, my computer is really struggling with the RAW for some reason. I don't know if my Premiere needs an update, but I'm gonna put it into Resolve tonight. I kind of only had like a few minutes, we got back late, but the XF AVC clips looked amazing. Now, in terms of sensor noise, from my initial impressions without extensive testings, it did seem like it had a little bit less sensor noise than the C80 and the C400. Now again, I'll test this at some point. Hopefully Canon will loan me a C80 or C400 to test out, but I really like this sensor a lot, and I really like the aspect ratio of it too, being able to shoot an open gate. So no camera's perfect. What are some of the downsides? We've talked about this before, but I really don't like when there's only 1/4-20 on the bottom of the camera. There's this like other little hole for some reason. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that? Yeah, so there's this other little hole that's like almost 1/4-20, but it's not. So I really love it when there's two. But the good news is there's 1/4-20s all over the body, so I'm sure someone's gonna make a really wonderful cage for this, or at least a base plate that can maybe like tap into that little halfway 1/4-20 thing and then actually screw into the main one. But ideally it would have two. My last little bone to pick with the camera, the C50, along with all the other Canon cinema cameras at the moment, at the time of making this video, do not have vehicle autofocus tracking. Now, if you jump over to something like, well, the R3 that I'm being filmed on right now, it's got amazing vehicle autofocus tracking, and it came out multiple years ago. Same with the R5 Mark I, R5 Mark II. Really, all the mirrorless line of cameras have that amazing feature. Now, the autofocus is very good in this camera, just like you can see in this clip right now. When I'm tracking along with the car and then it gets obstructed by a bush and then the car comes back into frame, that's a moment where I'd really like to have that vehicle autofocus tracking. So Canon, we would love that one on a firmware. But other than that, this camera coming in at $38.99, the price point lower than the FX3, and the feature set just completely blows it out of the water. It's got internal RAW, it's got, you know, much higher resolution. I didn't even talk about the stills at all, but it's a great stills camera too. It's, I want to say 32 megapixels. I'll put it on screen right here, but it's something really close to that. It's above 30 megapixels. So it's like a real stills camera. So if this was your one and only stills camera, you'd be totally happy. It's not some like compromised YouTube thumbnail only type situation. But overall, super exciting camera from Canon. I love it. I'm absolutely adding one to my kit. It solves a lot of problems for me. Some people were talking about how this didn't have sensor stabilization. For us and the way we run our productions, it's absolutely a huge blessing not having that. If you have sensor stabilization, as our FPV pilot Patty would tell you, it ruins all the footage. Same thing with hard mounts. You just can't do it. And so the good thing with Canon is they have a lot of stabilized lenses. So that's kind of how I've been using it today. I've been running it with the 24-105 RF 2.8, just with a little Peter McKinnon VND on there. And then I've also been jumping over to my EF 70-200, and I have the Canon variable ND adapter. Super easy workaround. Don't find that being a huge problem for me. But overall, guys, super pumped on this camera. I'm gonna have a few comparisons, so let me know what your thoughts are, and also let me know what you'd rather see, FX3 comparison or an R5C comparison. Anyways, this is the first impressions, first look. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.